The NFL is banning the hip drop tackle starting next season. This is the hip drop tackle. The league says that the tackle carries an injury rate up to 25 times higher than any other tackle. Now it's going to result in a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. The announcement came despite the fact the NFLPA was against the rule change, and a lot of players on Twitter criticizing the league's decision, including Canadian safety Javon Holland of the Dolphins and former All-Pro J.J. Watt, who thinks the NFL is on a slippery slope to becoming flag football. After signing Russell Wilson and trading for Justin Fields, the Steelers have a new battle for the starting quarterback position. Head coach Mike Tomlin addressed his early thoughts about the team's depth chart on Monday.
We're not resistant to competition, but as I've mentioned several times of late, I just think it's appropriate to establish positioning as we get into this thing. And the term that I've used is Russell has pole position. When it's time to compete, we get in training camp-like settings and going to preseason stadiums and so forth. Obviously, Justin will be given an opportunity to show his capabilities.
He is back. He is tan. He is rested. He is ready. He's got a new suit on. He's hanging out in Victoria. He's the one and only Luke Willson. We're so thrilled to see you, buddy. How's your offseason been so far? What have you been up to?
You know, it's been great, Jay. Like you said, I'm out here in Victoria, which is a phenomenal place, minus getting in and out with a car, because as many people know, it's an island. And ferries are just, you got to wait. There's a big backup. So it's a tough situation. I do feel a little landlocked, but it's a beautiful place, minus when it's gray and rainy for 7 straight hours. But we're not going to get into that because spring's coming. Last thing I'll say on this rant is I'm not that pleased with my mullet right now. I look a little too clean cut, but don't worry. I'll get a little outrageous for next season. I'll be ready to go.
I can't wait. And I can't wait to talk to you about your former teammate, Russell Wilson. And I've been looking forward to this ever since the Steelers acquired him. We've talked so much about what a disaster it was for Russell in Denver. It just did not work out over 2 seasons. We all know that. We just heard Coach Mike Tomlin say Russell's got the pole position on the starter's job in the Berg. Just initially, I'd love to get 2 questions, Luke. What were your initial thoughts on the deal in terms of a landing spot for Russell, and how do you think it might work out?
Jay, it's very, very interesting because obviously the Steelers, they're not really gambling much. We've all seen the contract situation. It's not like they owe Russ a bunch of money, hardly anything at all. I thought it was a weird spot for Russell. And why I say that is because, he still wants to be this run and gun type guy, and that's not Steeler football. So to sit here and think like, yeah, you're on this 1-year vet minimum style deal. Yes, he's getting a ton of money from Denver. But to me, you'd want to go to a place where you're really going to light it up. You're going to go there and the coach is going to say, Russ, you're throwing the ball 45 times a game. That's not going to happen here. I would be shocked if it did. The Steelers have never really been that team. That's not their identity. This team has a great, great defense right now. To me, I think the Steelers, I think what they got in the backfield, I think they want to be very physical, very tough. You come to that field in Pittsburgh, formerly known as Heinz Field, the terrible towels are rolling. You don't think of a gunslinging operation, if you know what I'm saying. And then the next thing I'll say, and I answer the second part of your question, Jay, I thought Tomlin really chose his words carefully when he said pole position. At first it was Russ is a starter, Fields is the backup. Now, not so much. Maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much. Obviously, Russ is, like you said, the starter for now. But I think it'll be a complete competition, and Russ has not had that since his rookie year against Matt Flynn. Trust me when I say that every year in Seattle, there was not ever a competition for Russ to start. Denver, same situation. So you got to think of the mindset of Russ, and if there's a guy who can handle it, it is him. He's very mentally tough. You can say whatever you want about him, but I believe that. I played with him. He's a mentally strong competitor, one of the best I've ever been around, but it's a very different situation. He's got, like you said, tough time in Denver. They basically kicked him to the curb, ate an ungodly amount of money, and now he's sitting here with a young gun, Justin Fields, trying to get him in the pole position. It's got to play in the mentality a little bit.
Yeah, and Fields had a nice finish to the season with Chicago, so I think that makes it even more intriguing. Luke, the big rule change of the league meetings, we just talked about it. The hip drop tackle has been banned. Players aren't happy about it, and specifically, and our viewers may have noticed this, it was the defensive players who are not happy about it. It now carries a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. As a former offensive player, what do you think about the rule change?
I think it's incredible. I think it's incredible. Like you said, all those tweets that we saw on X were all from defensive guys. And I have some empathy for them because it seems like every rule that comes out is against the defense at this point. There's really not been a rule that really hinders us offensive players. But when I look at this hip tackle, I do believe the stats, it is a higher risk of injury. One of the things I think that needs to be deciphered is what exactly constitutes a hip tackle and what doesn't. There's a tackle that we would teach in Seattle a lot when we were in the team meetings. Again, I was an offensive guy, but I would pay attention here and there, and the defensive coaches got up there. And they called it a gator roll. So basically you come from that angle, and instead of just dropping all your weight, you almost roll, again, pretty standard here, gator roll, like an alligator would simply do. I don't know if that's part of it. Got to run your feet through it. I don't think it's doomsday. I love the tweets of when are we just going to put flags on yet? That's ridiculous. Okay, I've been to a couple live games the last few years, including the Super Bowl. Trust me, there's a lot of thumping still going on out there, with or without the hip drop tackle.
Luke, we got to take a commercial. You are on fire already, but when we return, the juiciest moments of the past week, featuring the juiciest former tight end in Canadian history, Luke Willson. That's next.